Welcome to the Woodpreneur Podcast, the best podcast for the business and marketing side of the sawmill, lumber, and wood industry. What's a woodpreneur? If you have a business where you make money as a woodworker, sawmill owner, selling slabs, or a content creator, then you're a woodpreneur. My name's Steve Larosiliere, and I started Woodpreneur Life, Acres of Timber, and the Woodpreneur Podcast just for makers, wood entrepreneurs, and small business owners just like you. We're on a mission to empower thousands of wood businesses to grow sustainably and put out great products. Each week, I interview makers, sawyers, content creators, and 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs that know the wood industry inside and out. With topics covering everything from the urban lumber movement, sustainable sourcing and design, we'll discuss the ins and outs of how to grow, monetize, and fully immerse yourself in the woodpreneur lifestyle. If you're a hobbyist, a full-time wood business owner, part-time entrepreneur who wants to become a content creator, or quit your day job to pursue your dreams, the Woodpreneur Podcast is just for you. Thanks so much for listening. Now enjoy this episode. Hey, welcome to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Steve, and co-host is Jennifer Alger. And today's guest is Zach Bancroft from 805 Woodworks. How you doing, Zach?
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Great. Hey, why don't you tell us about the history and background behind 805? How'd you guys get started?
Gosh, well, I was an antique dealer, buying and selling wares and finding stuff and kind of enjoying the search. And it would be, finding a base or finding a top and then kind of doing marriages, doing a lot of refinishing, making pieces that were beat up, changing parts and pieces. And then I was at a flea market selling my stuff and I had a table and customer said, I love this table. I just need something a little bigger. And I turned to her and I said, well, then what would you like me to build you? And we agreed on a price, which I think was about $800. And it was super, super low, but I was super stoked. I went home, I figured out how to build a table and delivered it to her. She was very happy. And I guess that was the start of custom furniture for me. But kind of eased out of doing the selling wares and that kind of thing and moving into custom furniture and started selling a lot of reclaimed lumber. That was kind of the early movement. I think, thank you, Joanna Gaines and Chip Gaines, for that, kind of bringing about the movement for reclaimed material.
Yes.
Shiplap. Yeah. That's all about the shiplap. Exactly. So yeah, that's kind of how I started, I guess.
Zach, well, first, I bet you don't build any tables for $800 now, do you?
No, I can supply the wood though for $800.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you still marrying the antique bases or the old with the new? Are you doing any of that anymore?
If a customer wants that, I will, but I don't seek that out. And it doesn't happen very often. So it's not something that is a core part of my business. Primarily, it's dining tables, coffee tables, countertops, kitchen islands, and I do a whole bunch of fireplace mantles and moving more towards fireplace mantles as a mainstay.
Great. Very cool.
What? How'd you end up finding your style?
That's a great question. I don't know if I fell into it. You do what you're good at and you do what's around you. I think sometimes in business, you're always solving problems, if you will. And when a customer comes to you and they have a problem, that problem could be, I want a countertop. Well, I could solve that problem. So my style has come, I guess, based on what customers have wanted. And it really has morphed quite a bit. I think that early on was all about the rustic furniture. It was rustic farmhouse tables and rustic this and wall paneling and doing all sorts of things with that. And then as more time's gone on, I think with my skill set, that more refined craftsman style heirloom furniture has kind of come into it. And we jokingly used to say, and I guess we still do, when you make a mistake and you're working on a rustic piece, it's rustic. You add a little this and a little of that and you make it a little worse and then you make it a little better and you add some putty and you do this and do that. And it's like, it's perfect because it's rustic. You can't really do these things with, more refined pieces. So I don't know if that really answered your question, but it's kind of morphed.
That's great.
Do you now you are currently building all of this stuff. Where are you getting your wood? Are you selling the wood too? I thought I saw that that's what you were doing as well. Tell me more about that.
You are correct. I am an opportunist. So I don't have sources that I go to regularly. That's not totally true. That's kind of a lie. I do have sources I go to regularly. So I have spots where I know I can go here for this and I can go here for this, but I'm constantly scouring Facebook Marketplace. I don't look at Craigslist much anymore. I have people contact me. I had a guy who reached out to me yesterday, sent me an email and he says, hey, we have a building we're pulling down. Are you interested in purchasing it? I usually don't purchase the wood in that manner. Sometimes we'll go do the demo and trade for that. But again, I'm an opportunist. So if I see something available, I bought a piece yesterday, unidentified species of wood, about 20 minutes away from me, but it was a slab of something. I thought it was walnut from the pictures. It's not, but it's 38 inches wide, 104 inches long, and 3 inches thick, and it cost me $300. Well, anybody in woodworking knows that's a great deal. It's probably worth $1,500. So it's a future dining table, it's a future something. So that's how I source my wood. Is I'm an opportunist. I've kind of got feelers out there. Fortunately, been doing it long enough where people come to me a lot of times. Hey, I've got this, I've got that. Are you interested in buying this? I've got this stuff. Come get it. You could have it. So it's kind of a little bit of everything. But I do have my sources where I need to go buy something. I can go get that.
Yeah, that's awesome. How did you get clients when you first started, and what's the biggest source of clients right now?
I think initially it was a ton of word of mouth, and that is still probably a big part of my business. But Instagram has been my biggest driving force. It's where I spend the most attention, and not nearly enough attention on that. But I think word of mouth is really big, and word of mouth is, I think, one of the most important ways to grow your business because it's the most trustworthy. I can market and advertise like crazy, but if you don't know me, then maybe it's not that great. And there's reviews and things like that, but people also buy reviews. People post fake reviews. But if your friend says, hey, go talk to Zach at 805, he'll take great care of you. And that's what I love to do, is go and take care of people. So that has been the biggest thing. That's kind of how I got started. Really, at the beginning, a couple of core customers that I didn't build custom pieces for, but I did refinishing on some tables that I found at flea markets or I found at estate sales, clean those up, fix them up for them. And that led into really their friends wanting custom pieces. And so it just kind of steamrolled from there.
So all the things that you do are to build custom pieces, build an end product. You don't resell any of that lumber that you're out there salvaging or finding from all these places?
It's both. I have a showroom that I sell a lot of live edge pieces out of. I deal in some reclaimed materials as well. So it's probably about a 50-50 split from lumber sales and custom pieces. I don't build anything on spec, and I say that loosely. I have a few things that I have in my showroom, but I don't build on a table and advertise it and hope I sell it. I don't think that's a winning strategy for me. I would rather just find customers to build exactly what they want. I've found that people coming in looking for something have a specificity to what they want. So if I have something in the showroom, it's close, but it's maybe not what they're looking for. And I don't know if I pride myself, maybe that's the wrong way to say it, but I tell people often that this isn't the place you go and say, oh, that'll work. This is a place you go and you go, this is exactly what I want. Can you build it for me? And then kind of fulfilling that for them.
That's awesome. Tell us about the operations. How many people are you? Like, I know you said you have a showroom that represents you. Like, talk about your shop.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Right now I have one guy, his name's George. I have been, the ups and downs of small business. I've been doing this now. We're pushing 11 or 12 years. So over a decade. Thank you. We survived. I guess we could survive that long. You can survive anything because we've seen it all. We've seen up and down and anything in between. But at one point I had 9 employees. We were jamming, crushing it, doing a lot of stuff. And to put it shortly, it all kind of fell apart. I had to lay everybody off but one person. And then I worked for myself for a lot of years. Now my employee George was one of those guys that I had to go and lay off. And he was about 22 when I had to lay him off. And that was like, every person I had to lay off, it's like my family member. Every day was high fives and buying lunch and having a great time and we're crushing it and just everybody's having a good time. And when you don't have the infill and you finish off these massive corporate projects, well, now what? Well, now I got to lay people off. So every week it was 2 people. Next week, 2 people. Next week, 2 people. Okay, next week, 1 person. Next week, 1 person. It just, quite frankly, to be completely transparent, led into about 4 years of deep depression and very, very hard thing to navigate for me. But getting healthy over the last year, coming out of that into rebuilding phase, but I was probably 3.5 years of just kind of surviving every day, going in, dragging myself to work because I got things to do and I got kids to provide for and a wife to provide for and mortgages to pay and all that good stuff. So kind of getting that all sorted and back into the swing of things. I've got George back, which is great. He moved away to Maine. Now he's back and we started talking and now he's back working and we're having a good time and growing things back up and getting things done. So it's good.
I'm picturing so many of us as business owners have to struggle with not making our business our identity. It sounds like maybe that was something that you were going on with, and I'm happy you're in a good place now.
Yeah, no, me too. And I pray it never comes back again because it's brutal. If anybody here has ever struggled through depression, it's really, it's one of those things that we don't understand. And I think a lot of people still don't understand it, but you go through it and you have a new appreciation for people who go through it and struggle with it. And there's a lot of irrationality that goes with that, but it's very, very real at the same time.
Yeah, I can appreciate that as somebody that's gone through it as a business owner myself. And I think part of it is like, you know, what Jennifer just said, like your identity, like you are this business. Like if anything's to happen, it's because of you. And that's both good and bad. And then when it is bad, it's like, I'm bad, I'm terrible. And then you're like, I got people that depend on me. And then you have like your family and then you, and it's like all this, I mean, it's like one of the, you know, underappreciated kicks in the ass that you're like, oh my God, I've been through that. And yeah, you know, and hopefully we're stronger as a result of it, right?
100%. For me, I am very people oriented. I'm very affected when relationships go south, and doesn't happen very often, which is great, but I'm very affected. And like you said, I have a responsibility to my employees to provide jobs for them and provide a good, healthy environment and be their mentor and teach them. And I love teaching. I love passing on knowledge. I love learning. And so for me, when that kind of starts falling apart, oh, it's so brutal. And especially because I'm so people focused and relationships are so important to me. When a relationship sours, that's a big, hard thing. But I'm still in contact with a lot of those former employees, and we're buddies, and we hang out and they understand it and
absolutely
move forward, right?
How could you walk us through the sort of the comeback to like how you, like, what was the process? Like, what was the mindset that you had to like to rebuild a business? Because I believe I know that Jennifer believes the same thing. It's like you have to do whatever it takes to keep the lights on for the opportunities to happen. If the doors are closed, nobody can call you for anything. So like you have to do whatever it takes. Like, could you walk us through that process? Because I feel like this is a very valuable, thank you so much for going there. And this is like a real conversation that I'm like really hoping to have in the future. But like, thank you for setting that tone. But like, could you walk us through, like, not step by step, but like, what were the milestones to get back to where you are today?
One day at a time, getting and just doing what needed to happen. But to go real deep with it, it was like, I'll go real deep with it. If shooting myself was an option, I wouldn't be here. Let's put it that way. I mean, that was just never an option, but it was so dark. It was just like, I had to literally drag myself to work. My wife encouraging me that just go in and do what you need to do today to get things done and continue to go on there. My faith is a huge part of that because God has never let me down. I continue to trust that he will provide and he brings in the work and things happen. And we just keep going forward and trusting that that work will be there and be provided. And sometimes, like you said, it is doing whatever is possible. And I'm not a cabinet maker. All of a sudden, if you need a cabinet, I got to do that because that's what's going to provide for my family. That's what's been put in front of me. I don't like building boxes. I don't find creativity in it. I don't think it's something that I'm really interested in. Now, the design process I think is great, but I don't find creativity in that. So I don't do that. But there's lots of things. In fact, in this January, I kind of experienced some of that where we were taking on jobs and I'm like, we don't do that. But like, okay, here we go. We just finished up a desk. A customer had a desk that was way oversized. It was her dad's. She's a bookkeeper and she's got this massive executive desk and she's like, I don't have the space for it. I really want to kind of make it smaller if we can. So we deconstructed this thing. I'm repurposing furniture and making it smaller to make it function for her. But that's not something we do. But in January this year, it was very, very slow. Typically, our fall is crazy busy. People are nesting. They're wanting the customers to come. People are coming over for the holidays. Let's get everything dialed in. Let's get that new mantle. Let's get this countertop in. Let's do this. Let's do that. This year was a little different with the election. People kind of like waiting to see and what is the world falling apart or is it not? Am I going to spend money? Yeah. So that cycle kind of changed for us this year. We had a decent fall, but not like we normally do. Then coming to January, we typically have the Christmas hangover where people are not wanting to spend money because they just spent way too much at the holidays. They're recovering from travel expenses. So January, February is kind of this recovery month. This year was exceptionally difficult because we didn't have a great fall. So we were taking on jobs that were like, whatever we can do, I guess we have to say yes.
It kind of brought you back to your roots though, didn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
Because you're doing that, oh, this is the old meets new.
A little bit, yeah. And it was kind of one of those things that, you know, my job is to solve problems And this was a problem this lady had, and I was able to solve the problem, and I got paid to do it. And we had fun doing it. We were kind of like deconstructing this thing, and we had to take apart this desk without destroying it. So we were like surgeons trying to like pull these things apart. Okay, is that part glued or is that loose? Oh, that's just a nail. Okay, cool. We can pull that out. We can resize this, and let's not pull apart the drawers if we don't have to. And okay, we got to do this. We got to do that. So yeah, it was a little bit of the old, like almost repurposing and resizing that. Sure. You can see that.
That's great. And what, have you worked with a lot of interior designers and decorators?
I have found them to be exceedingly difficult to work with. No, designers are great. And the challenge, sometimes you get two people that are creative with the designers. And I talked to a lot of woodworkers about this, and we all kind of have the same challenge with interior decorators or designers. They have something really specific in mind they want, but they don't necessarily know the path to get there. So I have quite a few designers I work with. Some of them I work great with and some of them I don't, because that's that relationship part of it that's so important. You have to be able to really understand the language that each other are using to be able to get the end product you want. And I think that you get a couple creatives in the room, and there's a lot of ADD going on, and there's a lot of ideation going on, but you got to both be able to kind of get there and figure out how to find the way forward.
What's one thing that you really would love to have or wish that others knew about your specific industry?
I think that our disposable mentality of furniture is really a problem. We have these buzzwords out here: sustainability,
regenerative.
Yeah. And so we want to do things to be better stewards of this earth that we've been given. But then we have all these, you name it, food wrappings and packagings that go to the landfill and this and that. And we're processing some of that in recycling plants and stuff like that. But furniture is a huge contributor to that. And it's actually a point of, it's challenging for woodworkers, because here we are building pieces that are going to last a lifetime. They're going to outlive you. They're going to outlive your children if we do our jobs properly. But then, okay, it's a $5,000 desk, but I can go get a desk at Pier 1 or insert garbage retailer here, big box stores. It's particle board. It's painted to look good. It's really thin gauge metal. It's not built well. It's $200. Well, I can go buy that $200 piece every year, every 2 years, and replace it, and not have to worry about spending the high dollar amount, because it's really cheap and it's easy. I'll just throw it away when I'm done, or I'll give it away, or I'll donate it, or I'll sell it at a garage sale. So I think that's a huge challenge, in that we've kind of been conditioned to buy these things that are, look how cheap it is. We're buying things from overseas. I was having a conversation with somebody last night. I actually have a card game that I'm making. This is totally off topic, but in printing this card game, the only way I can make money on it is to print it overseas. I cannot print it in the US and make money selling my card game, because I need my card game to be made for $5 to $8 per package to be able to sell it for $15 to $20. I can't get it made here in the States for under $30 a deck. It's the world we have created around us. Furniture is no different, because unfortunately we have child labor that's building these things. We have horrible working conditions and terrible pay grades around the world. So how do we battle that as custom furniture workers? We just can't. So our niche has to be our niche, and we have a place where people want to have that heirloom piece to have for years and years and years. I think one of the other challenges with it, and this is not necessarily to educate somebody, but people have preferences that change so rapidly. We live in this fast-paced world of, oh, I like this. And in 3 months, I'm like, I don't like that anymore. I don't want the red iPhone. I want the white iPhone. I don't want that couch anymore. In 2 years, I want to replace it. So in that, if I have a desk that costs me, say, $500 instead of $5,000, well, if I get tired of it in 2 years, I can get rid of it, and I'll buy the newest, hottest thing for another $500. I can do that 10 times over the next 20 years, and that becomes a mentality. That's not my customer. My customer is the person that goes, I want that desk. I love that desk. And it's kind of like our parents, where you have heirloom pieces you pass down from generation to generation to generation. That is completely dead. That does not happen. And now what happens is people go, hey, I got this hutch. Do you want it? No, I don't want your stupid hutch. That's grandma's hutch. I don't want that. I don't have dishes.
Yeah, I hear you. I see that happening as well, but I'm also starting to see designers and architects and a movement towards having your classic pieces, because they're starting to understand more. Wait a second. I want I want good quality. What you build is great quality. It's not what you would get at, for the $500 piece that's, particle board inside or something. And I'm starting to see a lot more of that. And I'm very hopeful that in the future, we do see more of those staple pieces. And if you want to change something up, change your curtains, change your throw pillows,
Right.
change those things, but really look at those statement pieces that are just have that longevity.
Yeah, I agree. And that is my customer. Because not everybody is my customer. I think that's one of the hardest things in growing a business or growing a woodworking business is not every person is our customer. And it's so hard to be like upset when you lose a customer. Oh, they came in and they didn't have the budget for it. Okay, not your customer. They came in, they don't like your style. Great, not your customer. There's plenty of people out there that are your customer. It's finding those people that are your customer. And yeah, I think you're right. There is kind of a shift to that. And there is a specific clientele that's looking for those heirloom pieces because they are being purposeful to say, I don't want to just have this vicious cycle of garbage, garbage, garbage. They want quality and they appreciate quality and they're appreciating what we do as makers.
That's so crazy that you say that. I went the retailer you shall not name, right? The big one from overseas, right? And I went there yesterday and I was looking at like a bed and I was looking at a closet.
Which retailer you're talking about? You're talking about IKEA?
One? Yeah, IKEA. I don't want to give them any.
Okay.
I didn't want to give them any free press. But yeah.
Whatever. IKEA is terrible. Don't buy there. No, we're good.
So I went there and I was like, oh my God, how could they afford to do this so cheap? Like so cheap. It's so cheap. I was like, and then I realized like, oh my God, that's literally the mindset that people have. And, it's like the same mindset of like, I order something and Amazon sends it the next day, right? Like that kind of mindset of like, if I want it now and fast without any repercussions or thinking about like, what it actually took in order for that to happen. It's like, and there's like this convenience thing that, the other thing that you said was absolutely true is like the idea of passing down furniture to furniture may not be there because the next generation, they're not going to be able to like, they don't want to own houses. They don't really want to own stuff. And so like, how do you find the right people that do want those things? And I feel like it takes a lot of education, right? Like it is like a lot of it and a lot of education, a lot of finding, you have to say more no to things than yeses, right? In order to get to that point. So
yep.
Now I appreciate that.
That's the most expensive part of doing business is educating your customer.
Absolutely.
It's a hard thing. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of time when customers come in. And I love this part of it. People come in looking for something, not really knowing about it, but they're there for a half hour, an hour, getting an education. And they're just like, they don't know that it takes this process and there's this and there's that involved. And they leave going, wow, I got a lot of information. I had no clue. So there is that education.
For sure. Well, this is a part of the podcast where we get to brainstorm any business advice for you. Like, is there anything that you want to think through? Any plans that you have this year that you'd like to get an extra set of eyes and ears on? How can we help?
I am in the process. It's been a 10-year process. No, I'm in the process of building up my mantle business more. I do a lot of solid wood fireplace mantles. So it's dimensional hardwoods. It could be barnwood. It could be live edge. Solid pieces, typically, 6 to 8 inches in 6x6 and such. But getting those on my website and getting those up so that people can view them easier, and then working into eventually shipping those stateside wherever somebody might be. But really, the biggest part is being able to put a showcase up so that somebody can go in and see them without needing to come in. I love it when people come in, but sometimes people want to go in there. And then part of that education process is them being able to see it. They see the description, they see the price, they see the finishes that are on it. They can again see it all done and ready to go. Eventually getting into, see it in your home. They can upload a picture. They can put that mantle in their home and see it in their space and go, "Ooh, I like that one," or toggle through the next one and kind of see that. So those are kind of the long-term goals that I have, and getting those up there. So that's kind of a challenge. It takes a lot of work, takes a lot of brain work, and just execution. Yeah.
So would you want to like brainstorm how you could grow that piece of your business?
Well, I think that, growing that, first I got to get the mantles finished because I have some finished, but I have a whole stack of 20 or so that need to be finished. They're in rough form. So it's finding the time to do those and get those up. And then taking the pictures and then getting them on the website and building descriptions and things like that. And we use Squarespace for our website. But just kind of, it's a lot of doing the work. And I've thought about hiring, someone to do that. Obviously that costs money. And there's lots of things I can do. And I think in business, sometimes it's hard to know what are the things I should do and what are the things I should pay somebody else to do and get out of the way. I am capable of doing many things. I think because I'm a voracious learner, I can do them, but I probably shouldn't in some ways. I need to stay in my lane. That's my kryptonite. So I can do anything.
For sure.
Doesn't mean I should.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think part of that is like when I look at, adding a new line of business or an area that you'd like to focus on, it's about telling that story a bit more. And you have, a great reputation, good word of mouth. And like, did you sell a good amount last year in 2024
of fireplace mantles?
Mantles, yeah.
Probably, well, I don't think too much on it. About 20, between 20 and 20. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that to me, that's a good sample size, right? To be able to go back to those people in their homes, take pictures with them, learn more about them, like get like an honest review about the process with each of them. And then on your Instagram or your personal Facebook page, tag them, like friend them and tag them so that all of their friends can see. And then the way that I would do these next 20 is just say like every quarter I'm going to sell 20, right? So like you just like, and you have a drop date, right? And you get people to pre-order by the drop date. And then once they're ready, they're sold, and then whatever's left is that. So like, and I feel like that could be a nice piece of the business to flow in between. So like once a quarter, I mean, if you sell 80 mantles a year, that's a pretty healthy.
Sell 80 mantles a year, I don't have to do anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Are you okay doing a bunch that are very similar and that are the same as one another? And the reason I'm asking that is I'm curious if you could connect with a local fireplace company, somebody right there in your area who you could put a few in their store. So now you have a little bit of cross marketing going on. And then when their customers are asking them, hey, how do I get this great mantle? They know where to go, and they're doing some cross marketing with you.
Those are all things I have considered. I've got some places who sell lumber that I've talked to about putting displays in their place. And that is a tough one to crack because in my mind, it's always that, how does it work? There's a lot of things to solve in there. And every time
work? How does the mantle hang or?
No, a commission split. How do they promote it? Is it worth them promoting? Are they promoting it and taking away from something else they already sell? Is it an add-on? Is it a referral fee? Is it do they sell it there? It's this much and they walk it out the door and then I get paid for that. Is it a display?
I have a model. I have a model for that. I actually do that. I sell other people's wood because I don't make mantles. I mean, I'll cut them. We'll do all the milling, but I don't turn them into the beautiful things that you do. So I actually have a model for that. It works well.
Yeah. Well, what is it? Tell them how does it work?
I operate an urban wood store in Northern California, urban salvage and reclaimed. So people who are members of the network who can follow that little chain of custody showing where it came from, that it wasn't harvested for its timber value. Not that I'm opposed to traditional forestry, but that's just not our model. And so if they have that and it's meeting that chain of custody, it's been in a kiln, I know that it's been sterilized prior to being converted into wood or a finished product, I'll sell it in our store. So yeah, and then I take a commission. I collect the sales tax. I remit the sales tax. I pay the fees, for the credit card fees or whatever that is, and then take a commission on top of that. So I have it all laid out, and it works nicely.
Yeah. So commission is good. Another model too is like just have a bottom price in which you would sell it for, right? And then allow them to add 20 to 30% on top of that. And that's probably like just like a very, very easy, like either do a commission or just like allow them to, add on. And the more they buy, the bigger their commission that they can have. Right.
And
Well,
if it's on
I do have,
order, I set the price.
yeah. Well, I do have one other one, is to contact remodelers and design build firms that are going in and building these custom fireplaces in folks' homes, because they're doing it. So like be their mantle guy, and literally that's it. So anyway, is that helpful?
No, it's helpful. And it's funny because all these ideas have come into my mind, and then solving them and doing that. And it's like, I just have day-to-day stuff to do. I don't have time to always think about this stuff.
For sure.
And it's really easy. Ideas are really cheap, but then implementing them.
For sure. They're free too sometimes if you hop on a podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So doing those things is always like, and I love your idea, Jennifer. I'm not opposed to that. But then I start looking, okay, well, how much am I willing to give away? Like, easy example is this. A typical mantle that I do is about $2,000. Start to finish, hardwoods, exotic woods, about $2,000. Could be less, could be more, depending on what we're doing with it. How much am I willing to give it away for? If I have a retailer who can sell 10 of those a year for $1,500, $1,200, at what point is it worth it, and what point is it not worth it? And that's hard, like this hard mind game I play with myself of like, well, if they're doing the work and they're okay, what I can make it for this, and are the margins there? Yes, probably.
That's why I was saying, would you be willing to do a bunch of them that were the same? Because that assembly line process, that duplication, is what's going to bring your costs down, so your margins still stay nice. Whereas if you're changing it up on every one,
that's the hard part.
More expensive, and it's fun, but it's more expensive.
No, I totally agree. I am not and I've done it. Talk about just doing things to make ends meet, but I have done the whole, production line and just mass producing something. It's miserable. Like, that is my hell, is building widgets every day and going, here's my job. I do this and I stamp this and I do that. I would go insane because I'm a creative person. I like to be creative with it. Now, if somebody came to me and said, hey, I want 100 mantles for my hotel. We're going to use this material. Can you make that happen for me? Absolutely. I can do 100 of something for 2 months long, 2 months straight. By the end of it, I'm ready to shoot somebody, but I can get it done, right? I can do that. And I've had projects where they just drag, and you're just like, oh my gosh, can I just get out of this because I'm so tired of doing the same
You get bored.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the challenges I have too with that is if I needed to build, say, even 10 of something, sourcing 10 of the same thing for what I do is very, very difficult, because I'm working with tree services, I'm working with arborists, I'm working with people who are sawyers to get these materials, and I'm buying a whole tree, and that gives me 6 pieces, 8 pieces, maybe. So if I needed 20 of the same thing, I'm also not just going to Home Depot or whatever wood supplier and buying the fir or whatever.
Can I tell you how we've solved that quantity thing? Because that's real. The struggle is real with that. We have worked with local tree services in our area to go, what do you get a lot of? What can you duplicate over and over and over? And each area is going to be different based upon, our model is urban wood, based upon what grows in that area. What were they planting in that area? What's coming out? Is it eucalyptus? Okay, well, I'm only going to promise I can duplicate in eucalyptus or whatever it is,
The world's worst wood to work with.
Right. Yeah. But it can be stunning. It really can.
No, it is. And I have some eucalyptus mantles that I've done. I've got some in my warehouse now. And you touched on something that's really important, I think, is if I looked at this in the long game, I could absolutely go to some of my suppliers and say, okay, I need Carpathian elm mantle material. I need you to start doing this on an ongoing basis. I need 50 Carpathian elm mantle stock pieces this year, and start to do that. And then when they get them, they go to the milling process, they go to the kiln drying process, they go to the flattening process. Okay, we got 10 for you to pick up this month. Okay, come get them. It's looking more long-term with it rather than going and buying 6 or 8 at a time. And there's some elm, there's some oak, there's some ash, there's some casuarina or whatever it is. Instead of it being this onesie twosie kind of thing, it's like I'm buying, 6 logs and building that out so that I can then start establishing the retailers. And this is I think one of the challenges in that is the scaling. What does that look like? Is it hiring more people? Is it reducing demand somewhere else that George and I can then handle this more? Because why we're going deep with this, because how much can I work on futures? How much do I have to work on today?
Yeah.
How much can I work on optimizing my shop right now when I've got workload now and bills to pay now? But if I do this cubby and make it so that I can access my whatever's easier, I'll be more efficient. There's that balancing act of dealing with today and in the future. And this is all future talk. And I love that because I don't want to do what I do forever in the scale that I'm in now, because a lot of times I'm trading my time for dollars. And if I can scale it, now I've got people that I'm providing jobs to and scaling out of this into something much greater. So that's, I think, where my cog is in this whole thing, is like scaling and not making it so, because I've been the 60, 80 hour a week work guy.
Yeah.
I'm done with that. I'm 30 to 35 hours a week in all transparency.
What are you doing, huh?
I have found a sweet spot and I don't have to work my ass off like I had to. And I don't want to do that.
Absolutely. And that's honestly, that's a great sort of note to end on, just like finding the balance, doing what you love. And I think you planted a little nugget. It's like, how do you build an asset that appreciates, that you don't have to show up all the time for? Because, the dollar per hour and the, using your hands and your body to make money, isn't a long-term solution. So Zach, thank you so much for your time and for sharing and being vulnerable, going deep, going there with us.
I appreciate it. I think it's been a great conversation and give me some things to think about for sure.
Absolutely. Could you tell everybody your website, Instagram, so they can follow you?
Instagram is at 805 Woodworks. That's 805 Woodworks.
Thank you so much for your time, and look forward to getting the story out to the Woodpreneur community. All right.
It's getting to know you, Zach.